Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. Hope everyone's doing good. Wait, 1 second. There we go. Great to see everybody back here. Very excited to be getting into this Torah today. We got some really good stuff. We're going to finish up today with a concept that we started last time and then move on to the sort of final concept in this particular section, of the Tam. So I want to start, if you're following along in the book, which is the Garden of Wisdom, I'm going to be here on page 170. And we'll go through some of this book, and then we'll return to the story. I want to remind anybody, if anybody's interested in sponsoring any of the shiurim for any reasons, please let me know, and we can get that going. So, we were discussing last time about this midah of the Tam, that he did not compare himself to others, right? So, like I like to say, his wonderful supportive wife said to him, "You think your shoes are so good, are so fancy? Why are your shoes only half the price of everybody else's?" Right? And the Tam answered in a way, he was very calm. He answered in a nice way, and he said, "What did the other people have to do with me? That's them, this is me. I have no need to look at someone else." And this is one of the most important pieces of wisdom in this whole story, in my opinion. I love it. But let's just talk about it a little bit. So first of all, I want to say over, Sandra, you already heard this, but I want to say over a mashal, just to help us to understand a little bit about some of the negative things that happen when we compare ourselves to others, or when we be jealous of others, or we try to emulate others in an unhealthy way. So here's how the story goes. The story is like this. There's a guy who's a doctor. I can say it a little longer now. I said this by Kiddush on Shabbos, but now I have a few more minutes, so I can try to make it nicer. So unfortunately, there's a natural disaster in a tropical place in the world, and it's bad. And there's a lot of people, small villages that are in bad shape, and they need help from the rest of the world. So there's a certain doctor who decides he's going to go. He's, a very caring person, a very moral, caring person, bright person, very smart. He's a really good doctor. So he decides he's going to go, get on a plane. His country is going to send him to go and help the people there and take care of them and nurse whoever back to health that he can help with. So he goes and gets on the plane that the country's sending him there. And while he's on the plane, he realizes that on the same plane is a bunch of real partygoers who are going to the same place, but they're going to the part of the country that wasn't affected by the natural disaster. That's just a beach tropical party zone, right? And so he finds himself on this plane with all these wild people. They're already dressed in their party stuff, and they got their sunglasses on and their pointy-toed shoes probably. And they're all getting ready to go to party it up on the beach in a serious way. And so he sits there and he's like, okay, whatever, no problem. But as the plane is flying, it hits some tremendous turbulence and it sends him up. He hits his head on the top of the cabin. Boom, he's knocked out. He wakes up. Amnesia. He can't remember a thing. I make up a lot of mashalim stories that end up with someone in amnesia. But this is what's going on with this guy. So he has amnesia. And he can't remember, he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. He doesn't know who he is, what he's doing there, why he's on this plane. But he looks around and he sees all these people in their party gear who are all drinking on the plane and they're hooting, hollering and singing songs and everything. And he's like, oh, I guess I'm going somewhere partying. So he joins in with them and he sees that they have, they're drinking a lot. He starts to drink a lot. He sees that they're, being boisterous and loud. He starts being boisterous and loud. And so he gets to the country and they get on a bus and they go straight to a resort on the beach, and it only gets amplified from there. And after the first night, he wakes up the next morning with a tremendous hangover, and he can't even remember what he was doing the night before, never mind his whole life. And he wakes up with like a feeling, not just of regret, but a feeling of emptiness. He has a feeling like something's not right. He has a feeling like he should be doing something better. He should be doing more. Why? Because Be'etzem, he is this person. He's a wonderful, good, moral person. He's a smart person. He cares about people. He's a caring, wonderful person. And so, even though he doesn't remember what he's all about, he feels it. And so he shakes it off, goes through another day, and the partying gets even more and more and more, and even more crazier things happen, and he's with different women and different substances, and all this crazy stuff is happening. So this time, he wakes up 3 days later, and he cannot remember a lot of what happened, but the parts that he can remember, he feels shamed about, and he's just like, something's not right here. This is not how I should be spending my life. It's eating him up from inside. He doesn't feel right. And so finally, he's sitting in the hotel lobby one day, and he sees on the news this story about the fact that there was a natural disaster and how there's people who are sick and who are injured. And he sees the injured people on the news, and he says, wait a second. I know how to take care of people. I know how to fix people. I know how to help people. I have a desire to help people. I have a desire to take care of people, to fix them. And then everything starts flooding back. And his memory comes back. And he realizes who he is. And he realizes what he was supposed to be doing. And so he goes, and he gets on the next bus and goes to that part of the country and begins to take care of people. And finally he feels good. And he feels besimcha. Even though he's dealing with tragedy, he feels besimcha. Because he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's doing what he's able to do. He's doing what makes him feel good. He is mamish. He's being him. And that's really the main point. Welcome, Nancy. That's really the main point. When we try to be someone who we're not, we try to be someone else, it doesn't work. Because we are here for a reason. Hashem put us here who we are, with our particular abilities and challenges. And he says, I want you to do a mission for me. There's important things that I need you to do in the world. There's a light that only you can bring into the world, and you need to do it. And like we saw in Rabbi Arush before, he said, a person cannot be happy. A person will never be happy, will never be samech b'chelko, will never be happy with their own lot in life, if they are not working towards doing something meaningful to accomplish their mission in the world. If I'm not working on doing something meaningful, I will not be happy. Right? This is very similar to the words, of course, of Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, right? Who said that this is what we need. We don't need comfort. We don't need peace. That's not what makes people happy. What makes people happy is meaning. When people are working towards a meaningful life. And in Torah talk, it means I'm working to accomplish what I was put here for. Right? So the story that we just told over, that we just made up, tells us a lot of important things. First of all, this guy tried to be like the other people around him. He tried to pretend he was like one of them. And he did all the things, and he tried to fit in, and he did all but something always didn't feel right. Something was always nagging at him. And he couldn't have peace. He couldn't be happy. He couldn't enjoy where he was because he wasn't being him. Right? And only once he was able to be himself was he able to be happy. Only once he was able to do the things that were meaningful to him was he able to be happy. Right? So, this is us. This story is about us. You know, we come into the world, and for whatever reason, we fall asleep. And we lose our memory, like in the story. And we're not awake to our spiritual mission in the world. We're not awake to our abilities and our talents and to our unique existence in the world. And so we just go through life. And we try to dress like certain people. We try to act like certain people. We try to talk like certain people, right? We try to get involved in things that other people get involved with. And hopefully sometimes we're on the right track and we're doing things that are good for us. But very often, we're just leading the lives of other people. We're not being ourselves. And so we don't feel happy. We don't feel like we're doing anything that we're supposed to be doing. You know, a midlife crisis, right? A midlife crisis is when a person wakes up and realizes, hold on a second, what have I accomplished? What have I done with my life? Right? This is the awakening to this point. It's when a person realizes, hold on a second, have I just been an actor for the last, I think for men anyway, the midlife crisis age is around 35, it begins. Right? Have I just been living the last 35 years of my life as an actor? Wasting my life away? Not doing anything that with the talents I was given? Right? Oy, chas v'shalom. So this is mamish, the world that we live in. And it's very easy to fall into this trap. So we got to be strong, and we have to find our place. We have to find our place and our unique contribution. Like Rav Arush says in the book and the pages before, we have to find our own melody, I think he calls it. Yeah, our own melody. So the way to do this, of course, is to begin this journey of self-discovery through personal contemplation and personal prayer, through his boinanus and his boididus. It's actually a very beautiful topic to work through in his boididus. Rabbi Nachman has this Torah that's very famous called a Zamra, that we have to look for the good points in everybody. Don't see the negatives, look for the good, right? But most importantly, in yourself, you have to look for the good. So spending time talking to the Ribono Shel Olam about my good points and going deeper and deeper into those good points. Where do they come from? What is at the root of those good aspects of me? Brings me to a much, much deeper understanding of myself. And when I begin to have a deeper and deeper understanding of myself, I begin to see who I am. I begin to connect to who I really am, to the things that I can do, the abilities that I have to do good things in the world. And once I begin to find that, I can begin to be on the path to accomplishing what I was put in the world for. But I have to begin a journey of self-discovery. I really have to, right? And the deeper I go, the more connected I'll be to my true self and to the things that I can accomplish in the world. That guy was unhappy because even though he was on a tropical beach with a bunch of people having a great time, doing fun things, he was not happy because he was not doing what he was supposed to be doing. He was not doing things that would bring his own soul comfort, right? And so too by us. We're never going to be happy if we're not working towards finding our true selves and accomplishing what our true selves are able to accomplish. It's it sounds really simple, but it's a special, important idea. And this doesn't mean, by the way, when we're thinking about ourselves so much, like it's not a selfish thing, right? Because and there may be other things that need to be done also. Like let's say you have a person who's a really good they're really good at one thing. There's a really good doing chesed. A person who goes and helps a lot of people, right? And does all these kind of good things. But the community really needs someone who can make events, who can bring people together and make big events. And the person thinks to themselves, well, wait a second. If I'm looking at my talents and I'm seeing that I'm really good at helping people, kindness, pardon me. But the community needs this. Maybe I should be doing that, right? We have to know that there's all kinds of different people that make up a community, make up a kehila, make up a chevra. And you're going to have one person, says Rav Arush on the bottom of page 170, who's good at doing chesed. You're going to have another person who's good with sick people, Bikr Cholim. You're going to have another person who's good at organizing the community. Another person who's good at working with children. Another person who's a good board president. I don't know. Another person who can raise funds and build buildings. There's all kinds of different people with all kinds of different things. So we don't need to pretend to be someone else. We have to harness our own power to do what we were meant to do and not look back and be strong with it. Right? Be the best me that I can be. It's so important. And so this is what we have to do. and it's something that it changes throughout our lives. We can understand what our main talents are, what our main powers are, and our main strengths. But as we go through life, things change a little bit. We have to constantly be talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and evaluating ourselves and looking at ourselves to see, last year I was doing this. Maybe my talents have to veer slightly to the right. Maybe there's something a little bit different at this stage of my life, right? Just always thinking, what does Hashem want from me? What can I be doing? What did Hashem put me here for? Who am I with? What it needs to be done? How can I contribute? What are my talents? Mamish, it's the way to get onto the track of personal fulfillment, meaning, and happiness in the world. And accomplishing what we're supposed to accomplish. Bringing light into the world. Amazing. I love this concept, by the way. It's very important. So the next thing that he talks about is judging. Page 172. Judging other people. So he just says an important point over here. Who do we think we're judging when we're looking at other people? Now we're taking it to the other side. We're going to move on. The next point that we're going to be discussing is the fact that people would mock the Tam. They would make fun of him, right? In a judging way. This is kind of the bridge between these two concepts. We can look at other people and try to emulate them, try to be like them, but then we can also look at other people and judge them in a negative way, right? So it's so stupid. What is it that we think we know about these other people? Do we know why they were put into this world, why they have certain abilities and certain challenges? They have those challenges and those abilities, whatever they are, because Hashem needs them to do something in the world. And they can only be done by a person with exactly those particular challenges, those difficulties. So you're going to look at them and make fun of them and judge them? God forbid. God forbid. What is it that we think we know that everybody else doesn't know, right? So, he says over here, if you look on the bottom of page 172, he says, why be jealous of others? We obviously can't judge them properly. So who can say that someone else is more successful? Hashem gives each person what he needs. Why be jealous that another person has a plow if he's a farmer and we're an accountant? Right? In other words, you're sitting in your accounting office and you see, I don't know if a plow is a good Lamaisa example, but you see on the, someone puts a picture of themselves on Facebook with their brand new, fancy, awesome, expensive farming tractor. I don't know, right? And it's new and it's shiny and it's got huge wheels and you're like, whoa, how come that guy gets to have such a nice tractor? What are you talking about? You're an accountant. You're not a farmer. You're not supposed to be. Didn't you be jealous of this guy who has that, right? What are you looking into the other person for, right? And if you don't have a tractor, it doesn't say anything bad about you. Of course you don't have a tractor. You're not a farmer. Why on earth would you have a tractor? So if you look at someone else who, let's say, maybe is a little bit better at speaking to other people, they can communicate well, better than you. Why on earth would you be jealous? I'm not the person who's meant to be a speaker, a communicator. I have other talents. I'm not, just like that guy says, I'm not a farmer. I don't need a tractor. I'm not a public speaker. I don't need to have that ability. Right? Same thing goes, with money, for example. You could look at a person and say, why does that person get all the money? I should have, this guy, Elon Musk, is he still the richest guy in the world? I don't know. He, at one point anyway, was the richest guy in the world. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, whoever these rich guys are, they have billions of dollars. You could look at them and say, well, why does he get billions of dollars? What about me? Right? No. That's the same thing as saying, why does that guy get to have a nice tractor? I should have a nice tractor. No, you shouldn't have a nice tractor. You're an accountant. No, you shouldn't have billions of dollars. You are the exact person that you're supposed to be in the same situation that you're supposed to be. It's insane. It's craziness and insanity to look at someone else and be jealous of their abilities. Do you hear this? Are you with me on this, guys? Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah? Okay. So important. So, bottom of page 174. We're going to have a great question. We had this question already and we answered it a little bit, but we're going to say in a little bit of a different way now. So, we have the Tam, and he's not so good at what he does. So shouldn't he desire to do better? Did he just give up? Don't Breslevers always say, Ein shum yush, we never give up? Did he just give up? Is that what he did? So shouldn't he desire to be better? So Rav Arush says, yeah, he should. Of course he strives to improve. But the difference is, I feel this is like very good advice in general, is that, let's read it over here. The answer is yes, he did want to improve, and he strove to improve, but he knew that the timetable of success was in Hashem's hands. The timetable of success was in Hashem's hands. Meanwhile, he served Hashem in joy and thanked Hashem for every little blessing in his life, taking nothing for granted. So what if other shoemakers made more money than him? Some people don't have a job at all. So this, I think, is really important. Many of you have heard me say this before, but when it comes to emunah and our part in emunah, not just our emunah, but Hashem doesn't want us to sit back and do nothing. We know this, right? Hashem wants us to work. He wants us to have jobs. He wants us to go and do things. He wants us to be makarev people. He wants us to learn. He wants us to, we don't sit back and just say, I have emunah, so I can sit on my couch all day long. And Hashem is going to run the world. We don't do that. We do. We do things. Right? So where do we fall into a trap where we have low self-esteem, we get depressed, we think where am I going? We get in this midlife crisis mode or later life crisis mode or early life crisis mode, whenever it is, where we begin to feel bad about our current situation or our current path. What's wrong with us? So very often, I speak to different people a lot, and sometimes you have the type of person who is like never happy in the job that they're in. They're never happy in the job that they're in. They have one job and they say, well, no, this one, it doesn't work for me with my lifestyle. This one, I don't really like the type of work that I'm doing. This one, the hours are not right and the commute is not there. There's always something wrong in the work that they're doing. They're always seeing something wrong, right? They're never happy with the place that they are. So a person has a job, they're working in a certain way, or they're in a certain stage of life. They're trying to accomplish certain things. So we start to work on those things. A very big enemy in our happiness and our progress is our desire to move forward faster than we are ready for. Right? Which Rabbi Nachman calls being doichek es hazman, pushing too fast forward, or needing to move forward faster than we should be. Right? So in other words, you have a person, like we're saying, they're in a job, and the job is paying money, and it's sustaining them and their family. Okay, they don't really like the job. They want to move on to something else. Great. But you have two choices at that point. You can work at your job and try to be good at it, and while you're doing that, try to figure out how you're going to move to the next level. Or you can be in that situation and be miserable, and every day complain, and every day be unhappy. And when a Jew is unhappy and when we're miserable, we're not growing, we're not accomplishing, we're not able to daven properly, we're not able to do mitzvahs properly. Nothing is moving where it's supposed to move. So with that need to push forward to a place where Hashem doesn't want me yet, and I'm not ready to be yet, I can find myself in a state of sadness and in a state of the inability to move and to accomplish and to do good things in the world. The inability to bring the light of Hashem into the world because I'm in such a bad mind space. So this is what he's saying over here about the Tam. Of course he wanted to be better and he wanted to do good things. But he said, as I'm working on building myself up and trying to move myself to higher levels, I'm not going to miss the opportunity to be thankful for one shoe that I can make today. I'm not going to be upset. Every bite of food that I eat is going to be a simcha. Every piece of clothing I put on is going to be a simcha. Every shoe that I make is going to be a simcha. Everything I do, I'm doing with happiness. And through that, I'm able to mamish bring light into the world. I'm able to be working towards my mission. Right? Mashenkin, the Chochom, you remember in the story of the Chochom, in the first 10 shirim, I guess it was, 10, 12 shirim, wherever he was never happy to be there. He was always looking to the next place. He was in his hometown, and he's like, I got to get out of here. He got on the wagon and went to Warsaw, first of all, right? The moment he gets off in Warsaw and has like one day of work with the people he was with, he sees the people with the fancy clothes and is like, oh, why am I working in this job? I want to go work with those guys who look more sophisticated. And he goes to them. And when he's there, he's like, this work's a little bit too hard. I'm going to go and start being a jewel cutter. And he starts cutting jewels, and he starts learning gem cutting. And then he says, no, you know what? All of these things, who knows if I can always make money with them? I'm gonna do something that's always needed, and that's very intellectually superior, and that people will always be impressed by me. I'm going to be a doctor. And he becomes a doctor. He's never happy where he is. And each place that he goes, he doesn't build anything. Each place, he's just leaving the last place. He's running away and going to something new. And he gets to be 20 years down the road, where the Tam is married, has children, is rising up in stature in the country where he lives, and the Tam, the Chochom, has nothing. He has never stayed with one thing. He's never worked on anything and finished anything. He just keeps leaving things behind. He has no wife. He has no children. He has no home, no friends. No nothing. He can't even be happy anywhere he goes. He can't be happy. Right? This is what we risk if, while we're working on becoming the next level of us, if we disdain the place that we're in. And if we don't appreciate every moment of the place that we're at while we're moving forward. It's a bit of a fine point, but so important. So important. Oh yeah. All right. So let's see a couple more points over here. Look at page 177. Couple of just strong, awesome, chizik dika pieces of advice. 177. The simple one's calculations in life, in the face of his wife's claims against him, allude to his calm dependence on truth. Nothing rattled his resolve. No smooth-sounding rhetoric reduced him to despair. Right? His wife said, you should be making more money for your shoes. He said, no, hold on a second. I've got it all figured out. I know how much my stuff costs. I know how much time I put in. I'm making a profit. This is exactly what I need to be doing. He was strong. He had resolve. Why? He's a simple person, but he knows the truth, and he sticks to the truth. Anyone making his own calculations in life should never compare himself to others. Their calculations are entirely different. Wow. If the Tom can say this about his shoe business, all the more so it applies to the complex nature of a human. A human is a universe on their own. And we have so many nuances, so many different, if you think about the concept of character traits of midos, every person has a certain amount of anger, a certain amount of ego, a certain amount of kindness, a certain amount of love, a certain amount of, pick all these midos, however many midos you can think of. We all have an individual amount of these things. It's like we're programmed in a certain way with a unique fingerprint of all of our traits. And then we have all the desires that we have and the pulls that we have to things that are different for every person. Then we have our intellectual abilities, our artistic ability, our analytical ability, our organizational ability, all these things, aspects of our intellect that we have. Then we have the level of our intelligence and our brightness. All of these things, there's a tremendously complex individual makeup, fingerprint of a person that makes us so unique compared to anyone else. So how can we possibly look at someone else and say, oh, I need to make the same calculations as that person. I need to be doing the same thing that that person does. I need to pray like that person. I need to dress like that person. I need to live my life like that person. We have so many individual tikkunim, so many things that we can accomplish, so many things that we need to do for ourselves, for our spiritual selves, that are unique and different from everybody else. So this is what the Tam is saying. Just like in the shoe business, he's like, I don't care what those people are doing. I know exactly how my business runs, exactly what my profit margins are. I don't need to look at them. I know the truth and I'm sticking to it. So too with us. We have to develop a relationship with ourselves. We have to understand ourselves deeper. We have to know who we are and what our talents and our challenges are and our abilities. And then once we have an idea about who we are, we got to have confidence in the way we're moving forward and not look to other people to try to emulate them. We have to stick on the path of truth and be strong. So, because if I'm trying to accomplish somebody else's purpose, I will never be happy. I cannot be happy if I'm trying to accomplish someone else's purpose. Everybody with me? Yeah? No arguments? No? Okay, let's move on to the next section, which is going to be the last section of the story of the Tam. I'm not ready to leave the Tam yet, but the time has come. So the next part of the story goes like this. Vayarak male simcha v'chedva tamid. He was always filled with happiness and joy. Always. Ve'etzel ha'olam hayelalag. But by everybody else in the world, they would mock him, they would ridicule him. Vehisigu taivasamboy, and they would like satisfy their lusts, their desires for this with him. Shematzu mimi lehis leitzeitz kirtzainam, that they found here somebody that can be essentially the butt of their mockery. They could fulfill their desire to make fun of someone through him. Kayad nidme l'mashuga v'hayu because he appeared to them like a meshuga, like a crazy person. So people would come to him, and they would start they would start up conversations with him, specifically on purpose, in order to make fun of him, in order to mock him. Right? Listen to these words. This is going to hit home for some of us for sure. So I'm gonna read a little bit from Rav Kivak here. So the Chachamim, quote unquote, the sophisticated people would come to him and they would start talking to him in order to mock him, to joke around with him. Hainu nisayan shel Amalek, shaba melubash b'chaveirav v'yedidav, ki'ilu lalamdoi das v'seichel. Oh my gosh, wait till you hear this. This is the test of Amalek, who comes to you dressed up as your friends and as your loved ones in order to try and teach you their special das v'seichel, their wisdom. And to rebuke the person that through your simple ways, your simplicity, your tamimus, you're crazy. You're the crazy one. You're mamish crazy. Has anyone felt like this at all? Right? So, it's pretty wild how relevant this is to our lives, to some of us anyway, that there's certain things that you would think are just obvious, simple morals. Simple goodness that people should just recognize and people should be on board with. Simple ways of existence that are just nice and good and positive. But people can't let go of these things. and they try to undermine this simple goodness. It's mind-blowing. It's mind blowing. So, like, you can imagine you have people. Some of us know from this very, very well, where there's a guy who comes to the shul, who worked in a certain company, and in the tech industry, and so the company was taking everyone on a trip to Mexico for like a team building thing, and so he went to meet with his supervisor. To say, I'm like a religious person, and I just don't want to be, I'm not going to be around when everyone's like in their bathing suits, and I don't really want to like touch members of the opposite sex, because I'm a religious person. I just want to stay like this. And him speaking to his supervisor about this one simple issue ended up him being brought before HR that he was sexist, and that this might be considered hurtful, and to other people, that he wouldn't go and participate in the half nakedness and to embrace people in bikinis. He didn't feel comfortable with it. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not going out there and telling people who like to embrace people in bikinis that you're a terrible person. I'm not interested. I'm not going to go out and say that's such a person. But when a person says, I want to keep myself in a little bit more of a modest environment, to all of a sudden now you're turning on them that they're the evil person. There's something wrong with you. How could you do such a thing? Right? So this is what we're saying over here. Your friends are coming to you and saying, what's wrong with you? Like there's all these things that are crazy in the world right now that like were never in existence. And now all of a sudden, just pure, simple, regular, good ways of living. Let's just say the importance of having a good family environment at home. You can't say those words anymore. You're like, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that your type of family is better than my type of family? What if, and you insert 1,000 things. 1,000 different things. You could be, no, I'm saying it's really good to have a stable, secure, positive, good home environment. And you could be attacked for such a thing. And there's much deeper and more difficult things on top of that. Right? And even if you have different beliefs than other people, and you don't want to talk about them, people might assume that you're a crazy, violent person who's intolerant and against everybody, right? But I didn't say anything. I'm not interested in going to fight with you. I'm very happy for you to live a happy life. Go, please, right? But all of a sudden, the things are turned, and you've become this terrible person. This is what he's saying over here. This is the test of Amalek that's coming, dressed as your friends and your loved ones, as if to come and teach you das v'seichel, to teach you why you're so wrong, what's wrong with you. But I'm just trying to you have this sometimes with Bali Tshuva. Person wants to start keeping kosher, and you'd think that they just came and wanted to light their parents' house on fire, right? I don't want to eat pork and shellfish anymore. I'm sorry. And people could get so upset and so angry, and they're, what's wrong with you? Don't you know? It's a huge fight. Of course, there's baggage that goes along with all this stuff, and there's other things that go along with it. But this is part of it. This is the mockery. Sometimes it turns into just mockery, and they're making fun, right? This is exactly what we're talking about here. They're making fun of you. They're mocking you. So he says, we have to stand up to this test against Amalek, who's coming to break a person. And we have to answer them. Remember, these stories were originally in Yiddish. Nor an leitzonis. As long as there's no leitzonis. As long as there's no mockery. This is what the Tam says to the people that speak to him. I'm very happy to talk to you. Just no leitzanis. Leitzanis has a lot of connotations. One is mockery. One is just kind of, it's kind of that underscore of levity that sort of just pulls all seriousness out of conversations, right? On leitzanis. As long as there's no leitzanis, no mockery, I'll speak to you, of course, 100%. Just don't turn it into mockery. This is what he would say. So if you look, let me see. Let's look back into Rav Arush now, page 181. No mockery, please. So why do people hate? Why do people have a problem with him? Just look down a few lines into the first paragraph here. Why do others think he's meshuggah? Daft is the word they use over here. Why do they think he's like this? If he was a person with a fierce temper, or was hurtful to others, or if he had a persecution complex, I don't even know what that means, or if he was a depressed person that brought everyone else down, then we could understand how others would disdain him. But he was a gentle, likable individual who lived in peace with his wife, made an honest living, and harmed no one. There was nothing daft about him. He was just a simple person. He wasn't meshuggah. So why does people think he's crazy? What's going on? So he says, as most of the world is far from happy, and since he was happy all the time, to others, he appeared daft. I'm going to change the word over here. To others, he appeared crazy. Well, you can't be happy like that. There's no way you could be that happy all the time. Something must be wrong with you. And I'm going to pull you down. I'm going to break you down. I'm going to show that you must be insane because something's not right over here. The world is so crazy. This is what we're saying. This is what he's saying over here. The world is so crazy that to see someone who is living a good, positive, simple existence of happiness looks insane to the world and looks like there's something wrong. Can you imagine? This is what this part of the story is trying to tell us. What a message. Wow. Look down at that bottom paragraph. Since people think that tension, depression, self-persecution, criticism, heresy, and cutthroat competition are today's norms, then anyone who doesn't live along these lines is crazy. The simple one was therefore a bone in society's throat because he was simply happy, and the rest of society is not. Right? Wow. It's so awesome. So let's go a bit farther in Rav Arush over here. So he says, everybody, hear this, what we just said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, and wake up. If we are not happy like this, if we are feeling like these people who look at other people who are happy and disdain them, we got to change something. It's time to change something. If our current philosophy in life is not bringing us happiness, then maybe we should reevaluate how we're living our lives. Right? So he brings from the Navi Zechariah that emes and ahava, emes and emunah go together hand in hand. Truth and emes and shalom. Truth and peace go hand in hand. What does that mean? So we're going to get into this now. It's the inyan of emes. It makes peace. It gives us a sense of peace. And it means that if someone does not have peace, if I'm not living a peaceful existence, it means that something inside me is not emistic. Something inside me is not truth. There's some place where I'm skirting the truth. And I'm making things up. I'm living a story. I'm an actor. In some area in my life, I'm not living truth. Right? This is a way to see that's what's going on. If I'm not feeling at peace and I'm not feeling happy, something is not authentic. This is what we're saying over here. So I thought about this, so when a person feels bad about themselves and they don't feel like this, they go on to become a mocker. Right? So I thought about a funny mashal. So you know how you have little boys on the playground, and let's say there's little boys on the playground. Let's say they're maybe, I don't know, between maybe 7 or 8 years old, maybe a little older. and maybe 10 years old. And so one of them gets hurt, and their mother comes over to see them, and the mother is very affectionate, and the mother like gives the boy a kiss and says, "Oh, my boy, I love you. Here, let me help you feel better," right? And then what happens as soon as the mother leaves? The other boys lay into him. "You're a mama's boy, right? You're a wimp. You're a mama's boy. What? You need your mommy to hug you? Do you need your mommy to, right?" You know why they're doing that, right? It's because every human craves that their mother should comfort them. Every human wants nothing more than their mother should be loving and should comfort them and should kiss them and should make them feel warm and secure and wonderful. Everybody wants it. Every single person wants it. If a person doesn't want it, it's because they maybe never felt it. And maybe they had a very, what's the word people like to use? Dysfunctional relationship with their mother, maybe, possibly. But that's a beautiful aspect of human nature, to be comforted and loved by a parent, right? And so the boys, they see that, and it makes them feel funny, because they know that that's something very precious deep inside, and they know that that's something that they would long for. And so, but they don't feel it, and something's not equal. I don't get that anymore from my mommy because I'm growing up, and it all explodes out into mockery, right? When we look at other people who are most of the time people say lashon hara or mock other people because they need to feel a step above. They need to make themselves feel better, so they make fun of other people. This is the ABCs. Everyone knows this, obviously. So if I'm not happy with myself, then I'm going to become a person who mocks, who says bad things about people, who brings other people down. Because the only way I can feel better is if I bring other people down. So out comes the mockery, and it covers everything up. He says like this. Look a little farther over here. We'll come back to that. Let's see some Rav Kivak. So Rav Kivak says like this. So the Tam would say, this is what he would say: Rak bli leitzanis. I'll speak to you, no problem. People would come to him. He would say, "I'll speak to you, no problem. Just no mockery, no leitzanis." If they would answer him without any mockery, he would accept it, he would believe them, and he would speak with them. He didn't want to get involved in chachmas and wisdoms and wondering, is the person really truthful or not? Right? If they say they're not gonna mock, I'll speak to you and we'll talk. Let's go. Because that itself is also leitzanis. Because he was an ishtam. He was a pure, simple, good person. So what does it mean that was also leitzanis? Let's see in his words over here. This is a special part also. Listen to this. This is he says this in such a beautiful way. Rabbeinu melamed esanu derech lamod neged kol ha'olam kulai. Rabbi Nachman is teaching us the way to stand up against the whole entire world. Rak bli leitzanis. It has to always be rak bli leitzanis, without mockery. Aval ha'ikar loy lachshav midei harbe. Don't think too much. Rabbeinu Melamed, Gavul Shel Tamimus. Rabbeinu is telling us over here, what is the borders, what's the delineation of Tamimus, of simplicity. It's always hard to understand what are the actual borders, what are the Gavulim, what are the Gedarim. I don't know how to say this in English. What are the parameters of things? This is what we always have to try to understand. The main thing, the way to define Tamimus, the way to get into Tamimus is to say the main thing is without mockery, without this type of levity and mockery. Meaning that I'm trying to appease my friend, just like over here. The Tam said to the person, "I'll speak to you, just no mockery." Right? So sometimes the person can answer back and say, "Okay, yeah, don't worry, no mockery. I really want to talk to you." So that's good. Ubezem is payas yafa bedaita, and that's okay. Aval hachacham, but someone who's a chacham, a negative kind of chacham, Doeg, ulai haisa kavanasai, kein litzchok alai. Maybe he really, maybe he's what's it called? He's answering in a false way. Maybe he's saying, yeah, I'm not going to mock you, but really he is. Maybe it's like sarcasm. He's trying to understand, is he really telling the truth, or is he just playing a trick on me? He's going to keep the trick going. Maybe his whole thing is a plan to really mock me on a deeper level. He's like, yeah, don't worry, let's talk. I won't mock you, don't worry. But really he's just drawing me in, and he's going to continue to mock me without me even realizing it. Right? This itself is a type of overthinking and worry of Chochma. Right? The Tam just is like, you want to talk? Okay, if this is going to be mockery, I don't want to do it. But if you're not going to mock, if it's not going to be mockery, let's speak. And the guy says, yeah, it's not going to be mockery. He says, okay, let's talk. And then they'll speak, and if nothing changes, they'll have a good conversation. But another person is listening and saying, okay, fine, let's go, let's talk. But the whole time he's worried that the mockery is going to continue. So he's not really having a proper conversation. He's not really speaking to the person because he's got his back up. The Tam believes the second person that there's not going to be leitzonos. People, this is something very important to me. I teach my kids this, and I tell them how much it bothers me. In order to have a good relationship with a person, and in order to have a connection with a person, we have to be able to speak to each other from the heart. We have to be able to really talk to each other. We have to be able to trust each other. And if we don't have that mutual trust, that mutual care and connection, we can't make a relationship. We can't become close. We can't build things together, right? So this is a mini rant over here, I'm going to say right now. But this trend that there is out there nowadays of pranking people, it drives me crazy. You know, of like I don't know, all kinds of pranks, whatever. There's videos all the time of these things where people will go out and they'll pretend to be someone and they'll just, oh no, it's just a prank. Or they'll like throw something on them in the supermarket and they'll be, oh, it's just a prank. Right? And my daughter was one time telling me, she was reading something to me that one of her friends sent her a message. She was like, but I'm not sure if it's a prank. Is it real or is it a prank? And then they kept saying things. And she's like, I don't know. Did they really mean it? Or is it just a prank? And it ruins everything. If we can't trust the people that we're talking to, we can't have that basic level of connection. There needs to be, especially a parent and a child, I always made it something very important that like I do not lie to my children. I don't tell them silly things, to the extent that when the kids were really young, I actually told them, I maybe I shouldn't have done this, but when it came time for the tooth fairy thing, right? I said to them, I'm like, here's a thing that they do in the world, and they say that there's a thing called the tooth fairy. And then it comes and takes your tooth in the night and leaves you some money. I don't know, they saw it in a book or something like that. So I said, guess what? It's not real. But, if you put your tooth there, I'm going to put I'm going to put a prize under there for you the next day, and you'll get it and you'll find it. Okay, maybe I took the fun out of it. Maybe. I'm not sure if it was completely the right thing to do or not. Maybe I should have never mentioned the tooth fairy. I don't know. But I just couldn't take it. I didn't want to be doing something that I'm telling to my children that is false and lies. That they're going to look back one day and say, "Oh, but Tati, you used to say things to us that weren't truthful all the time." I don't think it's the right thing to do. I'd rather have difficult conversations with my kids, or I shouldn't say difficult. I'd rather have serious conversations at the right time, or tell them, We'll talk about this when you're a little bit older. Now's not the right time. We'll talk about this when you're a little bit older, rather than build a realm of falsehood. But with this thing, with there's a thing, there's all kinds of different types of group therapy things out there, right? And in group therapy, they often have rules. I've heard about this in a couple of different group therapy sessions. I haven't actually been to them. I've heard from certain people who were there. But they say there's a hard and fast rule that you're not allowed to joke about things. Why? Because joking about things is just deflecting the important item that you're discussing. The thing that you need to talk about. You know, when you start talking about something important, especially, I don't know if it's like this with ladies or not, maybe not. But when guys get together, this happens all the time. If I start talking about something deep and important, but personal, right? With a group of guys, right away, they got to make jokes. Because you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to open myself up. I'm going to allow this deep discussion that's going to really hit at my heart. They can't do it. It's too much. So you have to make jokes to deflect, right? Mockery, talking down to people, talking against people, it deflects all seriousness, right? When you see a person who's involved in serious self-work, a person who wants to connect to you on a deep level, sometimes it's like people are not ready for it and they can't handle it. So they make jokes, they mock, they do all these things, and it just deflects everything. We don't have to have those serious conversations. Let's deflect it. Right, so this is what it does. It's very unfortunate, and like just imagine the level of deep connection that you could have with people if you could take back all of those years of deflection, and imagine you had all those deep conversations instead of those years of deflection. It could be crazy. It could be crazy. So. Well, there's a lot of good stuff here, but I think I have a lot more to say, but we're at an hour now, and I think maybe we should hold off. I don't know if we'll finish this off the next time. There's not that much, but we will either finish this chapter off the next time, or we'll just start fresh in the next chapter this time. But we got some amazing points over here, and the main thing is that we have to be able to look into ourselves and really get to know ourselves, really figure out who we are, really figure out begin to understand. It doesn't happen right away. It takes time to understand what we're here for and what we can do in the world. And when we get that self-realization, we get to know ourselves a little bit more like that, we got to stand strong and do what we're supposed to do. Use those things that Hashem gave me to do what he put me here for. And then it doesn't matter what other people are doing. I don't need to look at anyone else because they have their talents, they have their challenges. Everyone has their own pekel. And as long as I know who I am and I'm working towards accomplishing my mission, I'll feel happiness and I'll feel good. We have to know that when we engage in simplicity, tamimus of Torah and mitzvahs, that we're going to be happy. And it's okay to be happy and simple. It's not okay. It's the best. And when people mock us sometimes for just simple good things that we do, we have to remember it's coming from a place of just the world doesn't get it. The world has lost it. and simple goodness is so important and so sweet and so special. And it's something we should cherish and we should hold on to. So looking deep inside ourselves to find our true nature, holding on to those simple good things and not backing down, not being pulled after all those complex material, physical, spiritual desires that are out there, just to remain on the path that we figured out. And when we figure it out, and we continue to hone it through our hispoidus, through our tefillas, through our advice, through our learning, and we continue to hone it, we stay strong to it, and we stay like the Tam. I'm doing what I'm doing, and you want me to look at other people? I'll tell you with confidence, no thank you. I don't need it. I have a path, and my path is good and simple and holy and special, and I'm staying on it. And that's it. With simplicity, with strength. One of the most important lessons from the whole story so far. Any questions or comments, guys? Okay, guys, everybody have an amazing week. We'll see you, God willing, on Wednesday.